Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee Books and Rain. I'm Rachel. I do not have coffee in my hands because my apartment is currently in a bit of an upheaval. I am in the process of starting to put things in boxes. I have tried to angle it so maybe you don't see so much of it. But I have had plenty of coffee today. We have books to review, and I have quite a few. And yeah, we don't have any rain, but yesterday we had some. I think today is the first official day of fall that has felt fantastic. But we're going to go ahead, dive straight into the first book of the moment, and that is The Haunting of Paynes Hollow by Kelley Armstrong. Now, not too long ago, I want to say I covered a Kelley Armstrong book that was something about kind of time travel a little bit. I would say very Outlander-esque, where this girl, she travels from kind of modern times to a little bit more of a Victorian Regency period, kind of falls in love, but does a little bit of sleuthing and crime solving along the way. And because she's using some of her more modern skills that she had learned before doing this whole trek through time. Well, this is not in that same vein, but it is why I picked it up because I did think that Kelley Armstrong had a pretty good premise, as well as just her general style of writing was very easy to read and follow along. So, with that being said, let's dive into the summary and we'll go from there. From New York Times bestselling author Kelley Armstrong comes a nail-biting supernatural horror about a haunted lakeside property and twisted family secrets. When Samantha Payne's grandfather dies, she figures she won't get a mention in the will. After all, she hasn't seen him in 14 years, not since her father took his own life after being accused of murdering a child at their lakefront cottage. Her grandfather always insisted her father was innocent, despite Sam having caught him burying the child's body, his clothes streaked with blood. But when she does attend the reading of the will at the behest of her aunt, she discovers that her grandfather left her the very valuable lakefront property where the family cottage sits. There's one catch. Sam needs to stay in the cottage for a month to finally face the fact she was wrong and her father was innocent in her grandfather's words. Traveling to Paynes Hollow, Sam is faced with the reality of her childhood and the secrets kept hidden in the shadows of her memories. When her aunt goes missing a couple days into their stay, Sam begins to question everything again. Plagued by nightmares and paranoia, she begins hearing sounds in the forest and seeing shapes crawling from the water as the rippling waves of the lake promise something unspeakably dark lurking just below the surface. It is considered horror, mystery, thriller, paranormal, and fiction. And I don't know if you can tell, but actually the boys, I'm going to try to put like the cover over here, so maybe the boys, like, because they're on the couch over here, maybe you can see them, because sometimes Leo can be really cute, and I just moved them in here so they would be able to like see where I'm at. But anyway, hopefully they're not too distracting, but they are kind of cute when they're just being themselves. So Argos is right there. That's Argos right there, that little dark shape, and Leo is back here. So, diving back into Paynes Hollow, or The Haunting of Paynes Hollow, Sam is very adamant that what she saw back in the past was that her father was burying the body of a local boy. From that moment on, I guess her view of her father like changed drastically. And so the story has a lot of like really high highs and really low lows. Sam kind of refers to her childhood almost picturesque or picture perfect, and yet all of a sudden she catches her father in the act of burying this body. And so now it's a real low low because, of course, you know, this is kind of ruined, like this image that she had of her father. Well, then she's kind of soaring through life again, kind of high, put the past behind her. She has kind of more or less disowned her grandfather, who has been adamant that her father was an innocent man and was a good man. And so she's working through medical school. She's like, you know, she was, I guess, a lab technician. Now she's going to be working into like, you know, being a doctor. And then she has to quit medical school because her mom has, it seems as though something like early onset dementia. So her mom seems to be early 50s perhaps, and is fading pretty quickly. Her mom is in a care facility, so the care facility calls Sam when her mom is having good days, so her mom can, like, she can be with her mom. And so really her mom is all she really has at this point, and Sam feels very, very responsible for her mother's care. So then her grandfather dies, this man she hasn't spoken to in 14 years. And so I guess, in my personal opinion, she, even though she was younger, and let's just say she was 12 to 14 years old when she kind of had this experience, she is adamant about what she saw, which is fine. But I think as we get older, sometimes our memories trick us into believing certain things one way or the other. We think they're crystal clear. Other people don't remember it the same way. I think it's a fairly common experience as we are human. Of course, there are very traumatic things that some of us experience. And so our mind holds on to those things really tightly and kind of builds walls around it, so that way it's kind of hermetically sealed in our mind. And that just means, like, it feels pristine, like it only happened yesterday. Well, I think a lot of that can also be very detrimental to us who, like, think we remember these things so clearly, because that's kind of what Sam is going through. She has this memory of her father burying this boy. She never got really any rationale of what happened. He never tried to deny it. And pretty soon after, he was deceased, supposedly at his own hand. And I say supposedly because I think the caveats are important. So that is Sam's memory of her father. Before all of this happened, before all of this went down, he was like her best friend. He was her hero. And then this happened, so of course it kind of ruins the image that she had created of him. Well, upon her grandfather's deathbed, he drafted his will, and he was fairly well-to-do. He put her in his will, and she was convinced, like, it's just her aunt, which was her father's sister, her uncle, again, father's brother, and I guess the uncle's son, so a nephew or her cousin. And those were really the remaining individuals of the family: Sam, the cousin, her aunt, and her uncle. So 4 people. Well, as the will is read, and her Aunt Gwen asks her to come, says, hey, I didn't really talk to you about it, but I need you to come be at the will reading. Like, I think it's going to be important. And Sam is kind of like, oh, well, he's just going to leave me a teacup and a sticker. So I don't know why I need to go. And she's like, you just need to come. So Sam goes ahead and goes. And yes, she does get left the teacup, which is kind of one of her grandmother collected teacups, or a certain kind of china. And so she gets left her favorite one. But she doesn't get left the sticker, but that is a different part of the story. But when all the property is getting divided, the house and things of that nature get left to the aunt and the uncle and then cousin. Well, there's about 300 acres of property on Lake Ontario that is left for Sam. But there is a stipulation that an offer has been made on this property for approximately $10 million. A development company wants to come in and put in pretty much like lakefront sort of resort type housing. But to get that money, which Sam really wants because she needs to think about her mother's care. Money is running out and Sam is not making enough money. Remember, she had to quit her job in the medical field to care for her mom. And so now she's kind of been doing a work from home sort of thing, but it's certainly not making the type of money she really wants to be making. So she's barely keeping ends together. Well, the stipulation is that she has to spend 30 days at this property. She cannot leave the property for more than an hour within this 30-day period, and she will be monitored by an ankle monitor as well as a caretaker of the property. So there's a couple of things that she's going to have to really do. This property is where her worst nightmare happened. This is where her father was burying this child's body. This is where her life fell apart. She does not want to be here. And so her Aunt Gwen goes with her in order to kind of help her through it. And she kind of sees this kind of sadistic tendency of the grandfather, that the grandfather has pretty much preserved their cabin to like an extreme. And when I say that, it's like the family cabin that Sam and her father and mother would stay in during the summer, everything that it had 14 years ago, her grandfather has recreated in this cabin. So when she walks in for the first time after 14 years, I mean, her father's cardigan is still hanging on the back of his chair, like he's ready to like show up for dinner. The table is still set, like dinner is just about to come out of the kitchen, and Sam is kind of like flabbergasted because the extent he would have gone to make this happen is, she feels, is very maliciously done, and so does the aunt. She feels like it's a really big kind of like slap in the face. Well, anyway, Sam is convinced. She's like, I'm going to do this. I need the money. I'm going to make it work. So they start staying there. And funny enough, creepy things start happening. It is a family drama horror story, because I didn't see this story playing out the way it did. And a couple points I'm not going to try to spoil it, but a couple of points I was really questioning the why we had to go down that route. But overall, the story was pretty good and takes some very interesting turns. I did think it was creepy. I'll go ahead and say that the caretaker, who's let's just say there's a connection. Oh, and her aunt's name's not Gwen. I think I was calling her Gwen. It's Gail. Sorry, it's a 4-letter name, and then it had a G at the beginning. So I'm sorry, but it's Gail, her Aunt Gail. Anyway, the caretaker has some connection to Sam's past, and the boy that was, I guess, her father was burying, there's some very important stuff about him as well. Let's just say that kid may have deserved it. I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, I don't usually, wish ill on people, but this kid was kind of demonic. Like, I mean, he was a really bad kid. Not saying that kids like that deserve it, but it's a fictional story. And in this fictional story, this fictional kid deserved it. That is my caveat for that. But it definitely gets to be very intense for Sam. And then Gail goes missing, and so now Sam and the caretaker are kind of trying to figure things out. There's another character named Josie, who, when Sam was younger, she was kind of like she was one of the younger kids. Josie was a younger kid for Sam. So like if Sam was like, let's say 14, then Josie would have been maybe somewhere around 10. Maybe even a little bit younger, because it seems as though as this story picks up that Josie is somewhere in her early 20s and Sam is mid-ish 20s. I think that's what the timeline. It was a little like 14 years have passed since most of the incidents from Sam's past. But I had a hard time trying to remember like how old was she? Like I know she was young, but like how impressionable, those sorts of things. There are some kind of ghostly things happening. I will let you guys decide if you think they are supernatural or human design. And when I say human design, it's like, is it a human who is trying to pull a fast one in order to make things happen? Because I think you could potentially argue either way. Hey, I love spooky ghost shows on YouTube, or spooky ghost videos. And there's one guy I watch who plays video games named John Wolfe, and every once in a while he will go through one of these spooky ghost videos and kind of try to debunk them. that's fine. But I don't try to debunk them. I watch them for entertainment purposes only. So no reason for me to want to debunk them. So if you want to try to debunk the book and figure out, oh yeah, no, it's just a human playing tricks on Sam. Okay, just read it to the end. That's all I got to say is read it till the end. I will say that I did like that they didn't put like a love interest really into this book for Sam, and I think that was like really needed. I mean, she needed a friend more than she needed a love interest, so that's what I support that aspect of this book. I don't think every book needs a love interest. I don't think everyone's story has to go down that route. So I am glad that this author did not go down that route and let Sam and the caretaker be friends instead, especially two friends who could lean on each other and rely on each other. Now, is there potential for them to maybe be a couple in the future? Absolutely. And even Sam herself leaves that option open for a future. But for right now, they are what they need for each other, which is, like a solid rock foundation, which is great. I read this book very quickly. I had the audiobook and could not put it down because I needed to know what was happening. So I was intrigued. I gave it 4 stars, and I probably would have given it like a 4.25 stars or something along that lines. There were just a couple things I would have liked to talk to the author about, like, why did you do this? Because now trauma, but I get it. Like, I do get it. I just don't like it. I think that's the best way for me to say that. But let me see. I was just trying to see if there was anything else. No, Ben, the aunt, Sam being pretty decent main character, just having gone through a lot of things. I guess I didn't really like how Sam was she was absolutely, everything is more or less like black or white, and there were no shades of gray for Sam. So she never even had a question that she could potentially be wrong about what she perceived. So I think that was something that was really frustrating. I think it's really difficult for me to read about a character who absolutely is convinced they cannot be wrong. Because I think we all could potentially be a little bit wrong, or our memories could fail us a little bit, or they may not be as crystal clear as we think them to be. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was pretty creepy. I was not disappointed, and I am pretty glad I picked it up for this spooky season. Now, I have been busy. I have missed a couple days of posting, so I'm going to do my best to try to catch up with the rest of this month. But I will be moving, and so I will do my best to get all my recording done, and hopefully in November we will have a nice full and active schedule once I am settled back into my new place. But with all of that being said, I'm going to thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, I hope you will, and I will see you all on the next page. I hope you have a great one.